Good afternoon. First of all, let me thank you all for coming here for this session. This is going to be interesting and informative because of the panel members that we have here today. It represents various actors, technologies, tools, and processes around digital innovation in government. Digital innovation is innovations which are powered by digital means. In government, it came a bit late, but the players have been really ready with the tools and technologies to play their part in this game. Traditionally, development has been the forte of government, but that is getting disrupted. There are new players with new technologies and tools trying to make a space to bring closer citizens and government so that the transactions and interactions they used to happen can happen effectively and efficiently. So with me today in the panel, we have a mix of people from government, private sector, technology entrepreneurs, supporters of such initiatives, funding organizations, and we are going to listen from them, their perspective about how this disruption in the status quo has created opportunities for not only governments, but also the non-traditional players to play their part. Now, how we are going to do this panel discussion is like this. We will have 6 to 8 minutes of introduction by each panel member, and they would be free to use any multimedia tools, be it a presentation or a video, and they will talk a bit about themselves, about their organization, where do they come from, and then we will go into much more generic discussions about the ecosystem that we just talked about. So on my right, I have Juan Ponelli, CEO of Positivo, BGH, Africa. Please.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm coming from Argentina, but I'm based here, so I keep saying that you should stop seeing at me as a Musungu. Positivo BGH is a joint venture between two leading companies in Latin America. One is Positivo from Brazil. It's more than 40 years old, and it has a very interesting story because it was funded by teachers. So we have a track record in education for more than 40 years old. And BGH on the other side is a company from Argentina, and it's more than 100 years old company, which make us to have some competitive advantages here in Africa, because now we are committed to produce made in Africa products. We have a factory here. So Positivo brings all the educational sides, and technology came as a part of day-to-day life, and we have to develop technology for education. We develop educational solutions, content, digital content. BGH brings all the manufacturing part. For more than 100 years, we've been producing ICT devices, LED TVs, telephones, cell phones now, etc. But 1 year ago, when I came here for first time, one of our friends in Africa told me that here there is an expression that says, seeing is believing. So instead of talking too much, I would like to share with you what we are doing here in a short video. Thank you.
Can you play the video, please? This is not the video that...
But it was nice.
Yeah. Can you play the correct one? Do you have a file name? Yes. Thank you very much.
What I like most about my job is that every day is a new challenge.
The feeling that is very important to Rwandans and Africans.
It has given me the opportunity to work in the field I studied in with real experience.
No matter how well you did it the day before, you start from scratch the next day.
Being the company that brings the technology to my country.
Building a bright future for Rwandans.
It's easy and fast access to technology to Rwandans.
We didn't have to import computer and phones.
In the short term, to deliver every single that we have committed for this first stage of the project. And of course, to expand the operation very fast to the rest of the East African community. In the long term, become the first choice of Africans. That means building millions of units per year.
Future.
Commitment.
Technology.
Is incomparable.
So, Juan, we will hear more from you a little bit later. So next is Dorron Mottes, CEO of nFrnds. Dorron is a serial entrepreneur with more than 18 years of experience in executive level management positions, managing and leading new initiatives from inception to implementation and significant sales. He is a strategic and innovation leader with vast knowledge of both the telecommunication technologies and global markets. Today he is going to share with us his perspective on how digital innovation in development is giving him a space to do his bit.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I guess I can't stand up, so it's going to be the first time that I'm doing a presentation sitting down. Is there a presentation? Can you please put it on? In the meantime, basically, I can start. I think you heard quite a bit today about connectivity and the vision of connectivity and getting people connected. It's just taking time. And whatever plans we have today, it's still going to take time. And it has to be also affordable, because there's ways to connect today in many places, but people can't afford it. So basically, okay. So basically, when we're looking at the opportunity, there's 5 million simple mobile phones. And it's, in Africa, it's a growing market. There's still a lot of people with no phones, and the first phone that they buy is still a simple phone. But what most people, and a lot of people are talking about smartphones and looking, when's the smartphone price coming down and trying to get smartphones in the hands of people are overlooking mobile data as expensive. And it's expensive for the mass market. They can't afford it now, and they can't afford it in if you're seeing future. And there's a huge market there if you can connect them. And obviously, if you can connect them and connect everybody, then suddenly you have a connected community. Everybody can interact with each other. It's a whole different world. So we at nFrnds, what we're doing is we're connecting those, the mass market, really, the people at the base of the pyramid, and we're doing it today. So the technology is live today. It's not future. It's on 5 Pan-African mobile operators already today. And it's affordable. It's $1 a month. So people at the base of the pyramid, the mass market, they can afford $1 a month. Still, $1 a month is a lot of money. They have to understand why they need it, but they can afford it. And when we're looking at digital inclusion, it's really the ability to connect everybody. If we have just the few with the smartphones, the few with the laptops, we can't really create the right ecosystem. Basically, what we enable is from any mobile device, no need for mobile data. People can chat, can use group chat, can use email, can communicate with each other, and they have access to information. Again, no mobile data. They can search databases, they can search information services, they have access to digital services, and then we leverage this connectivity to really connect ecosystems. So for example, we have a solution in mobile agri, so we connect the farmers into the ecosystem. Once the farmers are connected into the ecosystem, the whole ecosystem becomes more efficient. There's ability for information to flow. The farmers can receive agriculture tips. They can search. They can ask questions, an agronomist. They have the ability to have more knowledge about market prices, and they also have a marketplace where they can buy and sell. Once you have all these capabilities, then you can also automate the whole supply chain management and have a much more efficient ecosystem. Basically, as I said, it requires zero installation. It's not based on SMS. It's without data at all. We're leveraging USSD, but we take USSD to the next level, to a multi-application, multitasking, dynamic menu, something that doesn't exist out there with 60 human years of development put into that platform. It's affordable, so people can use it. And then we can bundle also services. So it means that we're not selling one feature for $1. We're selling a bundle of service that bring value to the people, to the users, and they're willing to pay for it. and it's an end-to-end solution. Whatever they're using, it's not an adjunct solution. It's the same services. If they're using a Microsoft Dynamics ERP solution, so they're placing an order from their simple phone into the ERP directly. It's not an additional solution. And that's a great opportunity because one, they're using the system, it's the same system, and when they want to, and when they have the capabilities, they can afford it, they can migrate to a smarter phone, they're using the same systems, so it's seamless migration. I gave an example on mobile agriculture, but this connectivity is really enabling many different verticals, from education, banking, finance, supply chain management, loyalty management. The fact that you can bring in the mass market into the digital world, connect them, using the same services that somebody is using with a smartphone or with a laptop, that's what creates the difference. In order to do that, we're not alone. We have global partners like Microsoft, which is a very strong partner, and you'll hear from Amrote later on about Microsoft, and an outstanding global partner that understands the difference between working in the Western world and working in the emerging markets, understanding how you have to come up with more creative business models, the right pricing, in order in the future to really gain the profits. Obviously, we're working very close partnerships with the mobile operators. We're live here also in Rwanda, on Tigo, on *235# here in Rwanda, also live on MTN, and many other mobile operators. And we're using a lot of local partnerships. If it's small to medium companies that come up with solutions that they already may have developed. It could be a solution for agriculture, for financing farmers, and we would connect to those local partners and let the mass market really use it, streamline these processes, enable them to receive a loan. For a farmer in Kenya right now, they can request a loan directly from their phone, and this whole process is streamlined with the harvest buyers, with the bank involved in the process. Talking about Microsoft as a partner, Microsoft has selected our solution really to get to the mass market with their own services and with their partner solutions. So they're also introducing us to a lot of their partners that are using their services. We already have solutions with them in finance, in accounting, in agriculture, and adding a lot, many additional ones. And I'll let Amrote talk more about Microsoft and not take her space. I'm not going to do the real product demonstration. I'll just show like a short demo that you understand how this looks like. When we're looking at a phone, it works on any phone, also works on smartphones, and we do have also users with smartphone that cannot afford mobile data that are using our service. So you dial a short code, and once you dial a short code, you get now a menu that is coming directly from the cloud. This is a dynamic menu. Different people can get different menus, but on the main menu here, there's several applications. You can chat, you can email, you can, in this case, I don't know if I see it. No, you can't. You don't see that. But there's also like it could be a banking application, depending on what you subscribe. You would see it on your phone. Then you select the service that you would like. In this case, it could be chat. You can see the different chats, and I think you get the idea that you can really go back and forth between the menus. We created also a very dynamic solution that, although the USSD is very limited, we know how to leverage it and make much more out of it and connect, really done connected.
Thank you. Thank you, Dorron. Someone said that WhatsApp is successful because they did not bank on the smartphone technology, but on feature phone. We hope to see such successes in nFrnds also. Next speaker in our panel is Clement. Clement is CEO of Rwandaonline Platform Limited. He is also co-founder and board member of the Rwanda ICT Chamber, co-founder and chairman of the Rwanda Software Developers Association, founding member of K-Lab Innovation Space, and chairman of the board of RICTA, a community-owned company that manages .rw domain and focuses on promoting and enabling local internet. So Clement, please give him a round of applause. Can you please tell us a bit more about the work that you are doing? It's a huge gamut of work. Please, 8 minutes.
So before I expand more on what we are doing at Rwandaonline, our team has put together a video that puts in context our work. So I would like to ask the video to be played. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. So Rwandaonline is a technology company working on the new era of digital innovation. We are building on previous digital achievements on infrastructure, connectivity, mobile financial services, mobile accessibility, to now create product that adds tremendous value to the citizens of Rwanda. Irembo, our platform to accessing government services for all citizens and businesses operating in Rwanda, is innovative in its obvious immediate achievements, which is one, to get government services to the citizen at their fingers through mobile access, through access points that are set up across the country. The value being government service no longer being something you need to plan for and go through a number of days before accessing. But it also obviously allows government to be more efficient at the way it's providing its services to the citizen. These are the immediate goals we need to achieve as a company. However, as this gets adopted and usage of our platform starts to be a norm, we'll start seeing other tremendous improvements to the Rwandan population. The government will be able to better know its citizen through improved registration of newborns, for example. Be capable of following a citizen from his birth through all the way he accesses the services, knowing him better. So this is a new era. of innovation. That's what we are doing to really use technology, digital innovation to impact the development of the citizens of Rwanda and hopefully of Africa in the future. Hope I will have also more chances through questions to expand more on how we will achieve that today and in the future.
Thank you, Clement. That's amazing. We will look at it in a broader sense, that how applications like this are making sure that government services are easily accessible to citizens. We'll talk about it in a bit. But next speaker is, please welcome our Amrote Abdella. She is the Director of Venture Capital and Startups, Microsoft Africa Initiative, a multi-year commitment by Microsoft to actively engage in Africa's economic development to improve its global competitiveness. Before joining Microsoft, Amrote was in Geneva working with the World Economic Forum as Associate Director for the Africa region. And prior to that, Amrote was part of the World Bank in Washington, D.C., working on access to finance, focusing on Africa. Please give her a big round of applause, Amrote Abdella.
Hi, good afternoon. So I'm actually going to break the trend, and I don't have a video or slides to show you. But I will share more of what we're doing at Microsoft. By the way, this lineup of having Clement and Dorron was not a setup at all. But we, as Microsoft, have been investing quite heavily in the continent for a number of years, and more so over the last 3 years with the inception of the For Africa initiative. And I'll share more in detail what it is. When you're thinking of digital innovation, government, development, there are 3 key areas that we should be looking at for development. One is innovation. And what is, by definition, innovation? Innovation is the ability for students, entrepreneurs, small, medium enterprises to create content, but also the ability to consume content. So to that end, we have partnered over the last 3 years with a number of hubs, incubators, accelerators across the continent with the aim of, one, empowering and giving the development tools to innovators, but more importantly, for Microsoft to also be able to access and really understand what application and services are actually being developed on time for us to also utilize. So that's one piece. The second piece is around affordable access, and I think there's a lot of discussion that happened this morning, but affordable access from having an affordable smartphone, but also ability to provide content and service through last mile connectivity. And this is some of the work that we're doing with our TV white spaces, looking at spectrum allocation. And there we've actually piloted a number of countries with TV white spaces. The last and largest one was actually around Namibia, where we provided e-health services and content really touching around 35,000 students and also hospitals. So when you're thinking of access, there's a lot of discussion around the hardware, but there's also a lot of discussion that needs to happen around the software, which is how do we make sure that there is access to information, access to content, but also the ability to innovate and create and consume content that's relevant for us. So when you're thinking of African governments and thinking of the services that we need, what do we currently have that's online that is consumed by the average African? And here we're thinking from farmers to students, from innovators to teachers to policymakers. How are we equipping them to be able to use and consume technology? So some of the work that nFrnds is doing, that Dorron is doing, is very critical, because when you think of farmers, him and his partner have brought about 135,000 farmers online. That's significant, because that means that farmers are able to access information, they're able to access content, but more importantly, when you think of bringing farmers to commercial financing, accessing capital markets, they're able to turn over close to $2 million a month just by using the platform. So those are some of the services that really looks at bringing to the edge some of the content, but also innovation that we have on the ground. Last but not least is skills, which is what investment do we need to make on the ground today to be able to equip Africans, to equip ourselves to be able to use and consume technology. And so some of the work that we've been doing has been with students, with startups, with entrepreneurs, but also with policymakers. And that's the work that's being driven through our School of Government, really looking at how do we best equip provide policy guidelines, but also work closely with policymakers to be able to advance the discussion, the investment that's actually taking place on the ground to the next level. So I'll stop there, and then we'll go into more of the questions.
Please give a round of applause. Next, we have Tom Adams, president of Pedago. He is a chairman and co-founder of Pedago. He is an ENY Entrepreneur of the Year national winner. Tom is the former chairman and CEO of Rosetta Stone, one of the biggest brands in language learning in English-speaking world. So here you go, Tom, and please give him a round of applause.
Thank you very much. So first of all, thank you very much for hosting this event and having us participate in this panel. So by way of background, I'm Swedish, grew up in England and France, and sort of moved to the US much later. But as I moved to the US, started this company called Rosetta Stone. And as I worked there to really build the language learning to be much easier for people, I struck upon this whole idea about pedagogy and working to make it easier for humans to learn a new skill. And so when I left that company just a few years ago, I started a new company which had a much broader mission, which was to change how people are able to learn anything. If you think about how people learn in general around the world, we all think it's in the classroom. We associate it with very traditional visualizations of what learning looks like. But in fact, if you think of your child, they're learning in a very mechanical way. They're solving problems. They're listening to your feedback. So learning actually happens all the time, and it doesn't just happen in this sort of broadcast environment. In fact, I believe that the legacy of the world in the sort of developed world is all built around that. And I think the great opportunity in a place like Rwanda is to skip that and to essentially go straight to experiential learning, where you're learning by doing. And here's why that's important. If you think of how you've learned anything that you're actually paid for, you've learned it by doing it. And the reason is that by doing things, we build up muscle memory, and it requires tremendous feedback. And so our whole pedagogy that we've created in this new platform called Smartly, that's our sort of product that's first coming out from Pedago, is that you're going to be able to learn, whether it's mathematics or it's strategy in business or anything like that, or even sort of vocational skills. You can learn those things on your smartphone in an interactive way with constant feedback. And if you think of the whole conversation here today, I'm so inspired about it. Why? Because I think the whole world is seeing the big challenge from automation and from a bunch of other things that essentially are creating tremendous stress in our society, where there are winners and losers. And the very mission of our company is to create an environment which democratizes education. Because all of us have tremendous gifts for learning. All of us. In my book, there's no such thing as a learning disability. What's required is the right medium, the right interactivity. In our system, it's only every 7 seconds that the learner is actually going back and forth with the machine. Always feedback telling you you're doing well and here's why, or you're doing not so well and here's why. The why is what it's all about. And so when you think of the mass of people potentially being exposed in the digital divide, it behooves us to rethink our very assumptions about how people learn. And why are we here? Well, it's simply because I think the open-mindedness is greater when there is less legacy investment in traditional methods or in traditional technologies. If you think about the whole edtech industry in the United States, it's been around this MOOC idea. And the idea is wonderful, but the reality is it's hours and hours of video. And so the big opportunity is to rethink that whole paradigm and create something better. Something where something that's delivered in an hour can be actually learned in 10 minutes. Sounds impossible, but it's not. Because when we are listening to someone, as you're listening to me now, you're learning very, very slowly. and it's not individualized, and I don't know which one of you is understanding what I'm saying and which one isn't. And I also am lacking in being able to adapt what I do to the individual. And so there's a need to rethink things. There's a need for also understanding the local conditions. And that's why we're here, and we're exploring opportunities all over Africa, and hope to be a big part of the conversation here about how we develop the human capital of this great continent.
Thank you, Tom. Please give him a round of applause again. Now we have Honorable Pastor Uwajeneza. Did I pronounce your name correctly, sir? So he is the Minister of Digital Economy and the Post Office, Government of Gabon. As a ministry, sir, can you please let us know what do you think about digital innovations in government space, the role that your ministry is playing?
Je vous remercie. Je voudrais d'abord vous dire pardon de parler en français devant un auditoire composé largement d'anglophones. Vous me pardonnerez donc cela, parce qu'au Gabon, c'est le français. Je suis effectivement pasteur Ngoua, ministre de l'économie numérique et de la poste. Je viens d'un pays où, grâce à la vision du président de la République, président Ali Bongo Ondimba, on a compris que les TIC étaient un levier de croissance et un instrument de transformation sociale. C'est la raison pour laquelle le Gabon, très tôt, depuis ces 4 dernières années, a augmenté sa connectivité internationale et s'est lancé avec d'autres pays de la sous-région dans la construction d'un réseau à fibre optique qui, à la fin, du moins en ce qui concerne le Gabon, sera de 6000 km pour pouvoir assurer la connectivité de l'ensemble de la population et baisser les coûts d'accès à la connectivité. Malgré cela, des initiatives sont prises. Ces initiatives peuvent être regroupées en trois catégories. Premier type d'initiative, la réforme de l'administration pour plus d'efficacité au service des usagers. Dans ce contexte, 2 exemples seulement. Par exemple, le e-tax que nous avons développé au Gabon, les redevables peuvent maintenant payer en ligne leurs taxes, leurs impôts. Et deuxième innovation, le e-visa. Désormais, au Gabon, il y a seulement 2 mois, on peut avoir son visa en ligne. Ça, c'est tout ce qui concerne l'efficacité de l'administration. Deuxième type d'innovation, ce sont des innovations qui concernent les politiques publiques, la mise en œuvre d'un certain nombre de politiques publiques qui ont un impact direct sur la vie des gens. Je citerai pour ça le e-éducation. Le Gabon est un pays assez vaste et on n'imagine pas que l'État puisse, dans chaque hameau, construire des écoles, construire également des infrastructures sanitaires. C'est pour ça que nous développons et le e-santé et le e-éducation. Parallèlement à cela, nous développons également ce qu'on a appelé un incubateur numérique pour permettre pour promouvoir l'entrepreneuriat dans le domaine des nouvelles technologies et notamment des jeunes. Ça, c'est très important. Et une autre innovation, c'est le projet Graines que nous développons au Gabon. C'est un projet agricole. Le Gabon est un pays dépendant au plan alimentaire et les pouvoirs publics ont décidé résolument de résoudre ce problème. Et il y a une composante assez curieuse dans cette affaire qui concerne les TIC. Cette composante concerne, premièrement, comme l'État met à la disposition des exploitants des terres, la première chose, c'est grâce à l'observation spatiale, nous allons pouvoir donner des informations à tous les exploitants sur l'ensemble des caractéristiques des terres à eux attribuées, et ils peuvent à ce moment-là optimiser leur culture, l'entretien de leurs terres. La deuxième chose, c'est ce qu'on appelle la téléirrigation, et dans les deux cas, il suffit simplement par un smartphone, d'avoir un smartphone pour avoir accès à toutes les informations qui concernent une exploitation donnée, ou grâce à un smartphone, piloter à distance l'irrigation en optimisant ainsi les ressources en eau et en optimisant également l'irrigation des cultures. Troisième type d'innovation que nous faisons, ça, ce sont des innovations liées aux opérateurs et aux opérateurs mobiles, c'est notamment le mobile banking et le mobile money. Actuellement, je raconte souvent cela à mes amis, et il m'arrive d'envoyer de l'argent à ma mère qui est au champ. Et je peux lui parler dans le champ, elle reçoit sa communication et je lui dis, mais je t'ai envoyé de l'argent. Et donc c'est une innovation qui transforme radicalement la vie des populations en zone rurale. Et de la même manière, le mobile banking, où les gens peuvent désormais gérer leur compte à distance simplement sur un smartphone. Voilà ce que nous faisons au Gabon et que nous allons continuer à faire pour que l'innovation numérique entre de plus en plus dans la vie des gens. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Excellent. So we are done with first round of introductory remarks by the panel members. I would request you all to give them a round of applause, please. So now with this setup, you would agree that in the panel, we have three important factors in this domain. One is the institutions. Second one is the transactions or interactions or the processes. And the third one is the technology. And these all are changing in the context of our discussion today. Institutions are no more traditional institutions. Those are so-called responsible for development. Technologies are not the same. Transactions are not the same. So in this context, now I am going to ask each panel member a specific question, and I would request them to be as generic as possible and talk about where do they see their institution or the processes or the technology playing a role in this milieu. So first, I would start from the minister. Minister, please tell us, in this changing environment, in this disruption, where do you see the government in it? What is the role government is playing or it can play? As an enabler or just as an outsourcer of services and products from other players? Do you see a role governments are playing in actively engaging with such changes, with new players and new technologies, and willing to adopt the new processes? Mr. Minister.
Je vous remercie. Au Gabon, très tôt, avec la vision que je vous ai décrite tout à l'heure, il était clair qu'une répartition des rôles et des responsabilités devait s'accomplir. Au Gabon, le gouvernement est responsable de la définition de la stratégie et de la réalisation d'un certain nombre d'infrastructures, on va dire des infrastructures passives. Au Gabon, une agence s'occupe tout particulièrement pour le compte de l'État de la réalisation de ces infrastructures. Et il y a un régulateur qui est là au quotidien pour appliquer la loi, pour suivre le marché, et le reste se fait selon les intérêts des opérateurs. Le gouvernement a un autre rôle à jouer, c'est que le gouvernement fournit des services, et de ce point de vue, il n'est guère différent des autres opérateurs. Tout à l'heure, je vous ai parlé d'une plateforme administrative qui réunit l'ensemble des administrations, mais c'est une plateforme interactive qui permet aux administrations, aussi bien aux administrations qu'aux clients de l'administration de dialoguer, de demander des services qui leur sont fournis, et nous allons à l'avenir généraliser ce processus pour que nous parvenions à éliminer l'ensemble des procédures qui sont source de gaspillage et de perte de temps. L'État, c'est uniquement la stratégie. Et pour le reste, tout le monde travaille selon son intérêt.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, Tom, in this disruption, there are big sectors in questions like health, education, agriculture, labor. And talking specifically about education, where you are active, which has seen its fair share of disruption, starting with OLPC, or one laptop per child, to massively online open courses. Where do you see private sector or players like you playing a role in this transformation that governments are going through?
Yeah, so just I want to build and somewhat challenge the minister here, maybe to say that I think that if you're working on these kinds of problems, I think you have to go beyond self-interest. So I think any company, any business that's in this sector probably realizes that there are more profitable sectors to be in, first of all. But the second part is that you have to be in it for the outcome at the end user level, at the learner level. And so I think that that's a starting point that frames everything. And so then, in terms of working with, let's say, the education stakeholders, I think you have to carefully talk to the different experts, either on the curriculum side or within the broader administration, understanding how the flows of funds occur. All of that's extremely important, because at the end of the day, you have to work within a system. At the same time, when you're a disruptor, when you're trying to change things, you also have to assert the new and better way. And you have to make the case for why we should be leaping forward, why a country like Rwanda or any other country here should be thinking of a leap forward. How can we deliver better STEM education than is delivered in Europe and in the US? They're extremely anchored in traditional delivery methods. So there's this huge opportunity to approach it, both in terms of respecting the constraints of the reality and also thinking boldly and challenging everyone you're interacting with to disrupt the system and make it change.
Thank you. Amrote, investment made in this sector are significant. It's growing in scale. So, as someone who is supporting such innovative ideas through funding and other technical support, how do you see the sector in itself evolving, which is not residing within the government machinery, but working from outside, but for government, but for citizenry? What do you see in organizations that you select for supporting?
So let me start off with your last question, which is what are some of the requirements that we look at? One, it has to be a disruptive innovation. There are a lot of applications that are out there, but it has to be more than just a dancing elephant, right? So there has to be an impact, there has to be a reach, but there is also a question of scalability, which is that if you develop in Rwanda, can your solution be taken to Tanzania, to Uganda, to Kenya? So I think there's that replicability, but also that scalability that we look for. But more importantly, it has to have the impact, right? So it has to go beyond sort of the solution, because, you know, in terms of what people pay for, right, in terms of consumption, people pay for services. They don't pay for information, all right? So it's a question of what service are you providing that is relevant? What problem is it addressing, especially in the context of Africa, whether you're looking at healthcare, education, agriculture, what end is it going to meet as you're developing it? Now, stealing a little bit of the question that you asked, Tom, what is the role of government and the partnership that we have? Look, there are a couple of things. One is there's a traditional method of, you know, being a service provider as a technology company. But there's a bigger role and responsibility, which is that what is it that we can do to actually build the ecosystem? And I think there's a lot of investment that happens to build the ecosystem, whether it's around education, health, and any of the other sectors. But there's very little tangible money that actually goes into startups. And I think I want to sort of, you know, caution against that, because there really is not as much money as people think there is. So one is, how do we actually continue to cultivate, groom, and grow some of the startups that have really great ideas? I mean, Microsoft was a startup at some point. How will we identify the next Microsoft from Africa coming up? So I think, you know, it's a question of locality. It has to be contextualized. It doesn't have to be the next Facebook. It doesn't have to be the next Uber. But really, what is relevant for Africa today that we can groom and grow so that it can actually have the impact and the scalability that we need? And I think, you know, the other piece is, you know, as we're looking at investment, it's how do we support but also nurture the talent and the skills, right? So it's not just the solution building, but it's also the company and the people behind it. How do we groom them? How do we give them exposure? So one of the programs that we have is called My Skills for Africa, where we tap into the 120,000 of Microsoft employees to come and spend 1 or 2 weeks at a time with a specific startup, working on solutions, whether it's technical or business. So those are very unique, I think, offerings that we have in Africa today that we actually haven't seen being deployed elsewhere. So I think it's both technical, business, but more importantly, the skills as we look at long-term development.
Clement, you are uniquely positioned to answer this question because you are working at a virtual business layer across the government, and which are supposed to be different ministries and departments. So there are two aspects to my questions, and I would like you to answer both of them, but be brief. We are running short on time. One is, how does it work? How does it work for a company to ensure that the government service delivery is done effectively and efficiently through such arrangement? So there is a business question to it. And the second is the technical stuff, that how do you ensure that the government, typically, which are known to be siloed, are giving you an opportunity to connect those discrete service delivery points?
Thank you. So what's very interesting is, first of all, the model within which our company is operating in partnership, in agreement with the government. The approach of our project is a public-private partnership, where our business invests and builds this platform and starts generating its revenue when actually people are starting to consume services through our portal. So why is this interesting is, as a business, for us to really be successful, we need to make it way much better for the citizen to accessing this service, but also for the government agent that is processing the applications from the citizen. He finds it way more easy, and it adds value to his work. So in my belief, this not only allows for this project to be successful, because a lot of innovation needs to go in place to achieve this simplicity. So in the business point of view, I think, and I commend the government of Rwanda for having found this innovative approach and actually it could be a good approach to foster more and more innovation across all sectors. Here we are talking about government service delivery. It can be education, it can be different other areas, really public-private partnership. On the technical side, again, we really, when we are putting a service online, today we already have 5 services online and probably 30 services by end of this year. We approach each service and look at it as one product we are developing. So it has an ecosystem, it has different type of users. People who apply for a driving license, for example, are different from the general citizen who will need a birth certificate from his child. The first category is mostly composed of people who at least have access to a feature phone. And the other category is all Rwandans. All of them have to access this service. So we approach not only the way they access this service, but also design the service in a way we are capable of showing which different systems or institutions within the government we need to interconnect with, so that the full flow from the time the applicant asks for a service to the day it's delivered is more efficient. So this is really to achieve efficiency and to make things way, way much better.
Thank you. Dorron, picking where Clement has left, I feel that the selection of technology does play a role in terms of making the services accessible and available to citizenry. So in terms of nFrnds' option to go for a feature phone as a platform to offer these services, what decision criteria you deployed to come to that conclusion? Can you throw some light on it?
Yeah, sure. So when we're looking at services the government is providing, these services have to really reach everybody in the country. It can't just reach the people that have a laptop and a smartphone. But you don't want to build a different system or a different process, a totally different process and different databases to interact with people that don't have digital connectivity. So bringing in the smartphone, the simple phone, creating processes that are streamlined into the regular process, the same backend that is developed, that the government is developing, connecting it to the smartphones, connecting it really to all the people in the country, creates a solution that is that they're using the same backend, and they can also have a seamless migration. So when people have more money, when they have mobile data, they have a smarter phone, they continue on using the same services, just enter it through a different channel. Or in some cases, sometimes they can access, when they're at work, they may have a tablet or have a PC that they can communicate. When they go home, they have to communicate through a simple phone. So you can have all those processes streamlined. Another point that I would like to emphasize, and a bit different point of view, is I'm looking more as a high-tech company, as a startup company. I think one of the things that the governments have to do is also create the ecosystem for technology people in Africa, in Rwanda. In Rwanda, for example, when we started working here, the first thing that we did was work with K-Lab, created there an innovation workshop, working with the local entrepreneurs. First of all, for us, it was a great opportunity to see the great entrepreneurs here in Rwanda, but also learn a lot from them on the issues, on the needs in Rwanda. And for us, it would be great if we can find a way how we can tap the local entrepreneurs and work together on creating the applications for these markets, because we can't develop everything. We have the platform. We really are looking for people to continue on and bringing the right solutions in each country. I think across Africa, there's a lot of accelerators, there's a lot of hubs, a lot of good entrepreneurs, but in most cases, there's a ceiling there. They get a lot of information, they're very good entrepreneurs, but you need a few good success stories. And the success stories is not to bring more people in, is really that people can share their knowledge and understand how you build a scalable company. How to use the right technologies that, maybe if you're reaching 100 people, you can create a solution, but when you reach 1 million, it's a totally different architecture. understand how to use that, how to use the right infrastructure on technology, but also the right infrastructure on the pricing, on business models. And for that, you really need more mid-sized companies, high-tech companies that were successful. Because a new person, a good entrepreneur, he comes into a company that has these processes, he or she learns it, and then when they go and set up their own startup, they know how to create it and scale it.
Okay, thank you. Juan, coming to you, the work that you are doing, it's as opposed to dumping hardware, you are building capacities. You are creating an ecosystem around the hardware production system. Where do you see this particular subset or an ecosystem of in its own term feeding into the bigger ecosystem of digital innovations in government? Where do you see this hardware revolution feeding into?
Thank you. Yes. Well, I think we all here are addressing the same thing, which is working as an ecosystem. Now we are bringing an industry here, and for that you need more skills, manufacturing skills, you need more engineers. The hardware brings the industry, the hard part of that, of course. But on top of that, we need software, because throwing a device to a person without software, it doesn't mean a thing, right? So the same approach we are having with education. So for education, we are looking at a more holistic, we are having a more holistic approach, and we are working with local companies. I'm glad to hear that many people here is doing the same. I'm hearing the same type of companies, entrepreneurs. So from the industry, what we are doing is to bring these entrepreneurs to work with us in technology hubs. So we support them, because of course, everybody needs some support, because it's not the same to start in a small garage working there, but who knows better the local needs than the locals, right? So what we all have to do is to engage not only the companies, not only the governments, but the community. That's another leg that I think we should address, and we have to convince the people that is for the better. To convince teachers that teaching with technology is for their best interest, not for the company's interest. Of course, we have an interest because we are all doing business, but it's to shorten that gap between the developed countries and the emerging markets countries.
Okay, thank you. So here we go. I would like to open the floor for some question and answers. There are some roving mics, I believe, and not to discourage you, but some question and answers would be the only barrier to your lunch.
Here, Rajiv.
Yes. Can we have a microphone there, please? We'll take maybe 2 or 3 questions.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Emir Wamasirabo. I'm a medical doctor. I'm a clinician, CEO of King Faisal Hospital in Kigali, Rwanda. I would like, therefore, to advocate for health. Surely, across the continent, I'm sure Minister Ngoua from Gabon will agree with me that one of the biggest challenge we have in Africa, across Africa, we have few professionals, health professionals, and very often in capital cities or in other cities. But the majority of Africans are outside the big cities. Now, how do we provide the best health care being few to the majority of people? Surely you have the solutions, you have the technologies, you have the hardware, you have the softwares, you have the solutions that have applied elsewhere, but they are very expensive for the current African market. I'm sure any solutions that allows anybody to get access to a professional is good business. If I want, I'm in a remote place, I want to have my blood pressure checked. This is a business. If I want, I'm a doctor, I'm a nurse in a remote place. I got an accident on the road, and I want an advice. This saves lives. The people that manage to come to the main cities, the 80% of them can be treated, provided proper advice. But today what we're doing, if government has moved, has brought broadband to the hospital, to the door of the hospital, health centers. They have even provided some facilities in some places, like video conference facilities. But you need some processes there. Who is going to do it? And I think this is a market that needs to be developed, unveiled, and really we need solutions for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor, for your comment. Maybe a lady here.
The minister.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I have one very short question. I am Clara Anyango. I work for UN Women. What is being done to ensure that digital technology using the public domain is used to ensure that development practitioners and governments are accountable for the commitments that they make? Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Clara. We'll take another question and then we'll respond.
Thank you, Moderator. My name is Papias Msafiro, the Minister of Education. I want to ask the question to Tom Adams and probably to Juan Ponelli. And my question is related to the question I responded to in the previous session. As we have high level of enthusiasm to take to the next level of education systems to match with the next digital generation, there are quite a number of disturbing studies which are happening. One of those studies, I think it was published a few weeks ago, and it documented that within the OECD countries, which has enhanced, which has embraced the use of ICT in education by making 100% curriculum being digitized, it has not demonstrated sufficiently to enhance learning as compared to the countries which stuck with the traditional mode of education delivery using books in a print form. Now, as we are putting a lot of energy, efforts, and investment, such kind of the studies really, they are quite discouraging. And they may indicate to us that probably we are falling in the usual trap of African continent, particularly sub-Saharan African developing countries at large, to be using the initiatives and the technologies which seem to be obsolete on the side of West. So what is your take in order to array such kind of fears which are caused by these studies?
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you. So,
let me take that. So I think it's an excellent question, Minister. So from my perspective, I think that the studies of the efficacy of technology in learning historically are accurate. It has not been effective, by and large. There are, of course, moments and individual technologies that have been, given great lift, and yet, by and large, the money hasn't delivered the kind of ROI that's been promised. The reason for that, I believe, is that people haven't leveraged the magic of interactivity. So if you think of the traditional classroom where the teacher talks and then they've got their textbook, we know the outcome for that. It's predicted. We can predict it from looking at history. And so what most people have done is they've tried to digitize that. They've tried to record a video of the teacher and then do a digital textbook. And that just doesn't work. There's no lift. There's no difference. The only thing is you've given access to that lecture to more people, and you've given the digital book at a lower marginal cost. So the only possible benefit there can be a cost reduction. In societies like this, or the US or wherever. What we're looking for education is to deliver us the smart people who are going to run our countries in the next generation. And so the question has to be asked much more aggressively about how do we develop the cause-effect relationships, the mental models in people's brains around how to solve problems. Because ultimately, all of us are paid for solving problems. And so any device that plays interactive solutions, that essentially allows the learner to constantly be solving problems, will train the person in the most fundamental skill they need to succeed in the world. In terms of the process of how one makes sure that one doesn't make the mistakes of most of the OECD what's reported in OECD reports, I think it's about being eyes wide open. And the first thing for me is you try the product yourself. If it can teach you something that you don't know quickly, and you retain what it taught you for weeks or months thereafter, the product works. If it doesn't, it's below the bar. And that's, I think, that there's a common sense that we need to apply when we're evaluating products. And in general, obviously, with the legacy technologies, they may have reports and studies and so on. I would urge skepticism in the sense that they've done lab testing with denial of one population versus another. But obviously, in aggregate, we're seeing the results from the OECD report.
Okay. You want to
Yeah, thank you.
be really short?
No problem. Let me share with you, because this is not the first nor the last report that someone will write on technology and education, but let me share with you one experience, one little experience. It was during 2008. We've been working with the government of Brazil for a long time on technology, on education. We were pushing for more technology in education in Brazil. So a minister like you was thinking, hey, does it worth it? Okay, but at the end, he challenged us. He said, okay, we are going to do the following experiment. We are going to give you 3 cities to choose. And I can say that the one that he gave us were not the best ones. He gave us the poorest city in Brazil, in the northern part of Brazil, with the lowest human development index. And he said, okay, now go and do your job. And by the way, we are going to do an assessment on what you're doing. If you prove that technology in education and your solutions are good enough to improve education, we will discuss. All right. We started in 2009. By 2011, in 3 years, we achieved the goals of the government for 2019. And they did the assessment. We could not do anything about the assessment, and that's just a little example of what technology can do. But for that, we engage teachers. It's very important to engage the teachers. Don't subestimate the teachers. Teachers are clever persons. They are having challenges every day on the classroom with new questions, with new kids. Okay. So they really are capable of taking this. Of course, every new thing, it scares you. It's new. You don't know how to do it. But with the right support, they will love it, and the results will be there.
Okay. Clement, I would take the opportunity to ask you the question that Clara asked from a UN Woman about the accountability thing. How does the ICT make development practitioner or government accountable, given that you are becoming a conduit of delivering government services? How do you ensure accountability in the setup? And I want really you to be very quick, because people are really, really giving us a lot of signs to close it now.
Of course, within what I was saying earlier, making the service much, much better, for us to achieve, we need to achieve a certain level of service. And this level of service is defined within the service when we put it online. If we say you apply for this and you will receive a response within 3 days, We make sure that the agent in charge of processing these services receives as many SMSs and email reminding me that he is getting late at processing the service. So this now starts to helping us achieve a certain level of service when it comes to, from government to citizen services. And actually gives us statistics on how we as a product, Irembo, is achieving in improving the way service is provided to the citizen, because digitization of service delivery allows capturing the data that gives you the right feedback and the timely feedback for you to constantly improve what you are doing. Now, in general, and this is, in my opinion, doesn't just limit to what we are doing and to what Rwanda is doing when it comes to service delivery, but in general, how do citizens use technology to get to engage with government? It's not just applying for service, but exchanging information, getting their voices heard. No, there are many initiatives in Rwanda that allow or attempt to achieve this, allowing citizens to use SMS technology, SMS connected to Twitter, to tweet our leaders, so to be more engaged. However, I still feel there are more innovative innovations needed to even improve this. And perhaps and probably our company will be looking into how to also play its role in there.
Thank you, Clement. So we see that in the field of digital innovation for development, yes?
Rajiv, sorry, just to quickly answer the question around health, because I don't think any of us addressed it.
Okay.
Around health, there are definitely a number of solutions that have been developed. Solutions that look at end-to-end health information management, from health posts to health clinics, hospitals, and really thinking of sort of, last mile and rural access. The challenge that we have seen, even for some of the solution developers, is the adoption by government, and I'll be very specific. The challenge is when you're thinking of cloud services, the availability of services in remote areas, real time. Now, whether you're thinking of blood banks or whether you're thinking of disseminating information to patients, those services are very critical. But most of it also revolves around patient privacy. So some of the regulatory discussions that have started, I think, sort of the beginning of where we'll see. But definitely, I think from a need perspective, that's in an area where we've seen a lot of solution providers coming in, but the adoption at scale is still, I think, what's waiting to come.
Maybe to add to that, one more thing is there are technologies there, and you have to really leverage them. You can leverage them in any vertical, including in health. But you can't come and say, okay, I want to now an MRI for $100, because that's not going to happen right now. It could happen maybe in the long term, but we want to look for a solution today. So then you have to look at the technologies that are out there, understand what are the issues, and try to solve them, and not forget that it has to be sustainable. Looking to find exactly, we have to understand what are the costs for creating such a process, to create a full streamlined process. For example, put an MRI in a city and let people set appointments from remote through their simple phones. So then you can leverage the technology that you spent a lot more money, but now you created a process that brings in the users. Maybe they have to travel, but at least they travel, and when they get there, they know they're going to be treated. So you have to see what are the components and leverage them.
Okay. So we see that this space is buzzing with activities, and we do note here and underscore them that there are institutions which are changing, there are processes, both interactions and transactions, which are transforming. There are new technologies which are being experimented in this domain. But two things which really need to be taken care of is the scalability. That how does these interventions scale up and take the shape and place of traditional service delivery institutionalization? That is one. And second is accountability. That how far we have come in serving the mandate of serving our citizens. Thank you so much, panel members. Please join me in giving them a big round of applause. And I don't want to be any more trouble from being a deterrent of stopping you from going to your lunches. So the announcement is that the lunch is for 1 hour, and our session was supposed to end 30 minutes back, and you are expected to be back here at 2:30 p.m. So thank you so much for your time and patience. Have a nice lunch. Thank you, panel members. Thank you so much.